You know, I could have started this channel with a tutorial, a breakdown, or something that gets views fast, but I'm not. I picked mindset as one of the first real videos on this channel for a reason. Because if you're trying to build anything, a business, a skill, a new version of yourself, nothing else matters until your foundation is stable. Not strategy, not tactics, no hacks you see on YouTube. Mindset is the thing that decides whether you actually follow through or whether you crash the moment things get uncomfortable. Today, I'm breaking down the 5 pillars that every creator, founder, and operator needs if they want to grow consistently. 1. How to start when you don't feel ready. 2. How to build self-belief through proof, not motivation. Number 3. How to think in sequence instead of chaos. Number 4. How to stay emotionally stable when pressure hits. And number 5, how to reset quickly when life gets loud. This video isn't a get hyped video. This is the structure behind real growth, the stuff I teach inside my academy, in my community, and the systems the most successful people use. So if you're tired of starting and stopping, if you're tired of overthinking, drifting, or waiting for that perfect moment that never comes, this is the video that will reset your whole approach. So let's get into it. Most people don't start because they're waiting to feel ready, but that feeling, it doesn't show up first. It's something you build after you begin. This video is level 1 of the game of life, not the one based on luck or timing, but the one built on mechanics, structure, and awareness. If you're feeling stuck, inconsistent, hesitant, I'm going to show you exactly why and the system that gets you moving again. Before we get into it, there's a link in the description where you fill out a form and you get a free personalized diagnosis of where you currently are in the game. So this includes your momentum, your gaps, your strengths, and what to fix first. It will make everything you learn today way more actionable. Now, let's talk about readiness. Most people build their whole life around waiting, waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel certain, waiting for the right moment where everything finally lines up. But that moment never arrives. It's something you create. And the people you look up to didn't start because they felt prepared. They started because they realized waiting was the real danger. Once you understand that readiness is just comfort disguised, you stop looking for the perfect moment and start building the system that creates motion, even when things feel unclear. Readiness isn't a plan, it's a feeling. It's that short moment of calm before you take a risk. And because it feels nice, we think we need it before we can move. But the problem is, emotion doesn't last. You can't rely on a feeling to carry you through a long game. Waiting to feel ready is the same as waiting for permission, and no one's going to hand that to you. If you wait for confidence before you start, you will never start. Because confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you build through doing. The feeling you're chasing only shows up after you move, not before. Let's talk about what kills momentum most for people, the illusion of preparation. We love to tell ourselves we're getting ready, I'm still researching, I'm still planning my next steps. I just want to make sure I do it properly. But most of the time, that's fear wearing a smart disguise. It feels productive. It tricks you into thinking you're making progress. But planning without execution doesn't build anything except hesitation. The longer you stay in the loop, the more you train your brain to believe that thinking about something is the same as doing it. It's not. You can read every book, watch every tutorial, study every example, but at some point you have to move, even if it's messy. Real clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from trying, failing, adjusting, and moving again. So, here's the difference between people who move and people who wait forever. Most people chase emotional comfort. They want to feel calm before they act. They tell themselves, once I feel ready, then I'll start. But emotional comfort doesn't last. What you actually need is structural comfort, routines, boundaries, systems that make motion feel safe. You can't remove fear, but you can reduce uncertainty. That's what structure does. Instead of saying, I'll start when I feel motivated, say, I'll start by doing one clear action at 9 a.m. It's simple, but that one line turns chaos into clarity. Structure gives your brain predictability, and predictability is what makes fear manageable. You don't need courage every day, you need rhythm. Now, throughout this video, the more we learn about the game of life, I'm going to be dropping XP, gems that will help you guys so much. Make sure you're taking notes, collecting the XP, and making sure you're banking all the XP you're getting from this. Now, I'm going to show you guys an upgrade. The architecture of beginning. Every beginning has three moving parts: space, sequence, and stability. Space means clearing the noise, the physical clutter, the mental tabs, the constant distractions. Because when your space is noisy, your thinking becomes noisy too. Sequence means deciding what happens first, not 10 steps ahead, just one. What's the next right thing I can do? That's focus. Stability means repetition, doing it again until it feels normal. That's where momentum comes from. If one of these is missing, the start collapses. No space, no clarity. No sequence, no direction. No stability, no trust in yourself. Beginnings don't require motivation, they require design. Now, most people believe the equation is once I understand everything, I'll take action. But the real equation is actually the opposite. Action creates understanding. Every move gives you feedback. Every bit of feedback gives you data. And the data gives you clarity. It's motion, reflection, then adjustment. That's the loop that builds confidence. A creator who posts 10 imperfect videos learns more about content than someone who's still planning the perfect one. Why? Because action builds information, and information builds certainty. Confidence doesn't come before the reps, it comes because of them. You don't think your way into belief, you act your way into it. Now, fear gets such a bad reputation. We treat it like it means stop, but fear doesn't mean you're in danger. It means you're doing something new. It's your system saying, hey, pay attention, this matters. That quick heartbeat, that's your body giving you energy. That tightness in your chest, that's adrenaline preparing you to perform. You don't need to eliminate fear, you just need to interpret it correctly. Fear is proof that you're stretching. The most successful people you ever meet still feel it. They've just learned how to translate it. They don't say, oh, I'm scared. No, they say, my system's activating. It's the same feeling, they just give it a different meaning. Fear is part of the process. And once you understand that, it stops controlling you. Now I'm going to go deeper and I'm going to make sure you guys level up. I'm going to be dropping so much XP, so make sure you bank everything. Now, let's talk about confidence, right? Confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from design. When your day, your environment, and your priorities are structured, you don't rely on willpower. You rely on sequence. Structure tells your brain, I know what happens next. And that's where calm comes from. Motivation fades, but design stays. If every morning at 9 a.m. you create, even for 30 minutes, you're not just building discipline, you're building trust. Because every time you keep that promise to yourself, you're collecting proof that you can be relied on. That's what confidence actually is. Self-trust that's been earned through repetition. People think confidence is about energy. It's not. It's about evidence. So let's put this together. Readiness isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. You build it by designing systems that make motion easy. You build it by collecting small wins that prove movement is safe. You build it by creating rhythm so progress feels predictable. You don't wait for belief, you create proof until belief appears. You don't wait for motivation, you build an environment that reduces friction. You don't wait for clarity, you earn it through movement. That's what readiness really is. It's structure, it's rhythm, it's repeatable design that makes fear irrelevant. So next time you catch yourself saying, I'm not ready yet, translate that in your head. It doesn't mean you're not capable, it means you haven't built that system yet. And that's fixable. You can build one today. One small structure, one consistent action, and one simple proof that motion is safe. Because readiness isn't a feeling, it's a structure you design. And once it's built, you'll never have to wait for motivation again. How many times have you told yourself, I just need to believe in myself, and it didn't work? You said the words, maybe you even wrote them down, but the next day, doubt came back. That's because belief built in imagination collapses under pressure. The mind doesn't trust words, it trusts patterns. You can't think yourself into self belief. You have to prove yourself into it. The brain doesn't care about what you say you can do, it cares about what you consistently see you do. Belief isn't thought, It's proof that's been repeated enough times to become truth. Now, here's what's actually happening under the surface. Every time you follow through on something, finish a workout, post a video, hit a deadline, your brain records a small entry. We did what we said we'd do. Each one of those completions updates what I call your internal I can handle this file. Confidence doesn't come from one big achievement. It comes from a consistent record of small ones. The mind learns through repetition. Like I said, it has effort, then result, then trust. That loop is how confidence is built. Not imagined, not hoped for, built. So when you repeat completion, the brain starts expecting success instead of fearing failure. That's how people become calm under pressure. Their system has taught them that execution is normal. Now that's a lot of XP. Bank that. Now, don't get me wrong. Positive thinking has its place, right? It can lift your mood, help you reset, but it's fragile. Affirmations feel good for a moment, but the moment stress hits, they disappear because imagination breaks under real pressure. However, evidence holds. Think about two people, right? One wakes up and tells themselves, I've got this. The other wakes up and opens a notebook, seeing 20 small wins they've completed this week. Who's more likely to act with confidence? The one with proof. Because belief without proof is hope. Belief with proof is a fact. The goal isn't to talk yourself into confidence, it's to show yourself enough evidence that confidence becomes a default settings. Now, here's where it starts to get deep. Your brain doesn't believe what you say. It believes what you see yourself do. If you constantly keep promises to yourself, you start to identify as someone reliable. I am confident stops being a motivational phrase and becomes a record of evidence. But when you constantly break those promises, when you say you'll do something and you don't, the brain logs that too. And over time, that becomes your identity as well. So self belief isn't built in your head, it's built in your calendar. Every decision either deposits trust or withdraws it. And the people who look effortlessly confident, they've just made more deposits. Their confidence isn't personality, it's data. Now, here's how you start building that data. The brain rewards closure, yeah, not effort. Intention doesn't count, completion does. So if you want to build belief, track what you finish, write it down, log it in your notes app, use a Notion board, a whiteboard, anything. Now, every small tick, every completed action sends a signal. We follow through. And that signal triggers dopamine, the chemical that makes you want to repeat behavior. That's how motivation becomes self-generating. For example, let's say you're trying to build consistency posting content. Every time you post, write it down. When you look back and see 10 in a row, your brain sees proof of reliability. That's how self-belief compounds, one completion at a time. Now, here's something that nobody talks enough about. Proof is what creates emotional stability. When you measure progress, you don't rely on feelings to tell you if you're improving. You have evidence. Without that evidence, your brain fills in the blanks with insecurity. You start thinking, am I even doing enough? Even when you are. Tracking proof removes that uncertainty. On bad days, it gives perspective. You can see that you've been moving. On good days, it reinforces momentum. You see what's working, so you double down. Proof replaces emotional chaos with predictable calm. You stop swinging between I'm unstoppable and I'm failing. You just follow the data, and that's when confidence becomes stable. Now, let's talk about consistency and intensity. This part is huge. Most people think they need a massive win to believe in themselves. They go all in for a week, gym, work, content, and then burn out. But the brain doesn't trust intensity. It trusts consistency. 10 small completions beats one big burst every single time. The mind learns through patterns. If it sees effort followed by success over and over again, it starts predicting success as the default. That's why discipline isn't punishment, it's proof. It's not about doing more, it's about doing something often enough that your identity catches up. So when you're building belief, focus on frequency, even on your off days. Actually, especially on your off days. Do something small that reinforces, I'm still in motion because that's what the brain trusts. Repetition. Now, hopefully, you guys have been collecting all the XP I've been dropping. Now, we're going to jump onto an upgrade, potentially leveling you up. Now, let's make everything I said simple. Confidence can literally be reduced to a formula. Belief equals evidence times repetition. Every time you complete an action, that's 1 unit of evidence. Every time you repeat it, that evidence compounds. That's why confident people look calm. Their brain has seen the same loop succeed hundreds of times. There's no guessing anymore. The more proof you collect, the harder it becomes to disbelieve yourself. And that's the shift. Confidence stops being a feeling you chase and becomes an expectation you live in. And you start to expect yourself to deliver. And that expectation changes everything about how you move. Brother, I am dropping serious XP. Make sure you guys are collecting this because I promise you, so many people don't know about this. These are crazy XP points. Now, here's the practical close. Stop chasing motivation and build a system of proof instead. Now, pick 3 behaviors that you do every day. No matter what mood you're in, they don't have to be big, they just have to be repeatable. Something that says, I follow through, I keep promises, I collect proof. Because belief isn't an emotion anymore, it's infrastructure. You don't feel confident first, you act confidence until that data agrees. And when data agrees, that's when belief becomes unshakable. Now, belief isn't built in a mind, it's built in motion. Every small completion is a brick, every record of proof is another wall. And before you know it, you're standing inside a structure called self trust. That's what real confidence feels like. Not loud, not hyped, not fragile. Just calm certainty built through evidence. That's the kind of belief that lasts. Now, let's start with something we're all guilty of. You ever spend hours planning something you never actually started? You research it, think it through from every angle, and somehow end right back where you began? That, my friend, is called overthinking. It feels productive, it feels like progress, but it's not. It's motion in your head instead of motion in your life. The brain tricks you into thinking you're being responsible when really you're just delaying feedback. Thinking about motion and creating motion are 2 different things. And when you confuse the two, momentum dies before it ever begins. Now, overthinking has a real cost. It doesn't just waste time, it drains energy, confidence, and belief. And every time you replay scenarios in your head, your brain experiences the same emotional load as if you were actually living them. You burn energy you never get back. The more you stimulate outcomes, the scarier real action starts to feel. Because in your head, you've already lived the stress 10 different ways. Overthinking doesn't protect you, it just delays clarity. Think about founders or creators who spend months refining an idea that never launches. By the time they move, they're exhausted, not from doing, but from thinking about doing. You don't lose to bad ideas, you lose to hesitation. So, here's why overthinking happens. Overthinking isn't about intelligence, it's about control. We crave certainty. We want to know how things will play out before we move because uncertainty feels dangerous. The brain believes that if it can plan for every variable, it can stay safe. So it builds this illusion of control. If I think about everything that could go wrong, maybe nothing will. But control is temporary. New variables always appear. And the longer you try to predict everything, the less you actually progress. You don't gain safety through control, you gain it through adaptability. You can't think your way out of uncertainty. You can only build systems that keep you steady inside it. Now, let's talk about something interesting: perfectionism. Because for most people, it sounds like a strength. Oh, I just have high standards. Perfectionism isn't excellence, it's avoidance. It's fear pretending to be disciplined. Keeping work unfinished feels safe because it can't be judged yet. That's why perfectionists always almost finish things. They want approval without exposure. But the truth is, progress begins when you replace perfect with published. Imperfection isn't proof of failure, it's proof of motion. Every piece of unfinished work sitting on your drive isn't waiting for improvement, it's waiting for courage. Perfection is just fear dressed in productivity's clothing. And once you see that, you stop trying to perfect things and start trying to release them. Now, this is where focus actually begins. Clarity doesn't come from knowing everything, it comes from knowing what's next. Most people chase certainty. They want to see the whole path before they take the next step. But that's not how clarity works. Clarity is sequential. You move one step, you get feedback, that feedback reveals the next step. That's how every creative process actually unfolds. Thinking becomes productive when it's ordered, when there's sequence, not chaos, because your brain can only handle one decision at a time. Picture it like a flashlight on a dark road. You don't need to see the whole path, you just need to see the next few meters. The path becomes clear because you're walking it. Now, let's turn this idea into something practical. Focus equals energy times order. Energy without order is chaos. You're working hard but going nowhere. Order without energy is rigidity. You have plans, but no momentum. When you combine the two, when your energy moves through structure, that's when it becomes power. Think about a founder who wakes up with no plan. They'll work all day, but end up scattered. Now think about the same founder with a system. Morning clarity block, key tasks, built-in breaks, structured wrap-ups. Same energy, different order. Massive difference in results. Focus isn't about intensity, it's about direction. It's not how much effort you give, it's how cleanly it flows. Now, here's an upgrade that will change everything once you truly get it. Your attention is your most valuable resource. Once it's spent, you cannot get it back. Every distraction, every half started idea, every unnecessary conversation burns a piece of your focus budget. And when your attention is scattered, your output drops, but your frustration rises because you start to think you're the problem, when really your attention is just divided. Focus isn't about working harder, it's about protecting your attention like it's capital. Every time you give your energy to something low value, you're taking it away from something that compounds. You conserve belief by keeping your attention moving in one direction. That's how momentum becomes sustainable, not by force, but by design. So, how do you fix it? You simplify. Simplification creates focus. Complexity kills it. Most people add when they're stuck. New tools, new strategies, new ideas. But real progress comes from subtraction. Choose one project, one direction, one metric that matters. Every yes should cost a no. If everything's a priority, nothing is. When you reduce friction, energy compounds because simplicity creates clarity, and clarity always accelerates motion. The fewer moving parts you manage, the more progress you'll see, not because you're doing more, but because your effort isn't leaking everywhere else. Focus is subtraction, not addition. Let's close this part with something simple. Thinking isn't bad, it just needs boundaries. The purpose of thinking is to define the next step, not the whole future. You don't need more time to plan. You need more courage to act on what's already clear. The question isn't, how do I feel more ready? It's, what's the smallest action I can repeat today? Because once thought ends in structure, confidence follows automatically. You don't need to overthink your way into clarity. You need to act your way into it. And once you do, the noise fades, the fog lifts, and focus stops being something you chase. It becomes something you design. Overthinking isn't analysis, it's avoidance. You don't need more control, you need better sequence. You don't need to plan the whole journey, you just need to define what's next. Clarity is not knowing everything, it's trusting that order will appear once you move. When you simplify sequence and focus your energy, momentum becomes effortless. You don't need a new plan. You need a structure that makes action easier than hesitation. That's what the focus equation is about. Energy with order, movement with meaning and clarity that's built, not found. Now, you know that feeling right before a big pitch, a product launch, or even posting a new video? That tension in your chest, the butterflies, the overthinking? Most people think that means something's wrong, but it's actually quite the opposite. That feeling shows up because something matters. Your nervous system isn't warning you to stop, it's asking you to pay attention. It's saying, hey, this moment carries weight. Let's get ready. Fear isn't danger, it's data, like I said. It's feedback from your system, letting you know you stepped into a meaningful zone. The goal isn't to eliminate it, The goal is to understand what it's telling you. Now, here's something most people never realize. Every time you grow, your body will resist first. That tension you feel before doing something new, that's expansion. When you stretch your capacity emotionally, mentally, or physically, your system protests before it adapts. Growth doesn't feel calm at the start. It feels wrong before it feels right. That's why so many people misread progress as panic. They hit discomfort and think, I'm not ready. But discomfort isn't a sign of inadequacy, it's a proof of adaptation. You're supposed to feel it. It means you're stepping past what's familiar. The goal isn't to become fearless. That's not realistic. The goal is to operate inside fear without losing control. That's what emotional stability actually looks like. Let's make this practical. Anxiety, adrenaline, quick heartbeat, shaky hands, none of that means you're broken. It means your body's preparing. Your nervous system reacts before your logical brain does. It's mobilizing energy, priming you for performance. But because most people don't understand that, they panic. They feel the rush and think, oh, something's wrong with me. That's where things spiral. Next time that happens, try saying this. This isn't panic, it's activation. That one label changes everything. It is a crazy cheat code. Now, because when you name the sensation, you give the brain context. You shift from reaction into reasoning. Understanding your body's signals restores control. Now, emotional regulation isn't about suppression, it's about translation. You can't manage what you don't name. The second you say, I'm frustrated or I'm anxious, you move the emotion out of your limbic system, the emotional brain, into the logical part that can process it. Naming emotions lowers its charge. It turns reaction into awareness. Most people think awareness is what makes you weak. It's actually quite the opposite. Awareness is control because if you can see it, you can steer it. But if you suppress it, it controls you from underneath. The moment you give a name to what you feel, you stop fighting your emotions and start managing them. Here's the key principle of emotional stability. You don't manage emotions, you manage energy. You can't turn emotions off, but you can decide where their energy goes. High energy doesn't have to mean anxiety, it can mean drive, creativity, or focus. Low energy doesn't have to mean depression, it can mean reflection, rest, or recovery. Your job is to channel what shows up. When energy is high, direct it into the structured action. When it's low, prioritize clarity, planning, or stillness. Emotional stability is just smart energy allocation. It's knowing how to use what's available instead of fighting what's natural. Think of emotion like currency. Every thought, worry, argument, or unresolved task spends energy. If you don't manage that spend, you'll feel drained even if you haven't done much. You're not tired because you worked too hard. You're tired because your brain's been running emotional transactions all day. That's why emotionally stable people look calm. They're not calm because life's easy. They're calm because they manage their emotional budget. They know what deserves their energy and what doesn't. So when you feel overwhelmed, ask, where is my energy actually going? Am I spending it to control or creation? Energy management is emotional intelligence in practice. Your nervous system doesn't regulate through willpower, it regulates through rhythm. Predictability signals safety. That's why routines are so powerful. A simple morning setup, a defined creative block, a consistent evening shutdown. These aren't just productivity hacks, they're emotional anchors. Every time you repeat a pattern, your body learns, we've done this before, we're safe. That's what calms your system. Not forcing yourself to relax, but reminding yourself you're in control. Stability isn't a personality trait, it's the byproduct of repetition. When you create rhythm, your body learns regulation. Now, let's take it one layer deeper. Emotional chaos almost always mirrors environmental chaos. If your workspace is cluttered, if your schedule's all over the place, if your tasks aren't prioritized, your nervous system has nowhere to rest. You can't feel stable in a storm you keep building. Clean workspace, clear calendar, define priorities. That's not discipline, that's emotional design. When the environment is ordered, emotion becomes manageable. Stability isn't something you find, it's something you build. Here's how you maintain all of this long term. Stay curious about your emotions. Don't judge them, study them. Instead of saying, why am I feeling like this? With frustration, Try saying, what is this feeling trying to teach me? Every emotion carries data. Fear shows what you value. Anger shows where your boundaries are. Sadness shows where you're attached. When you get curious, emotion becomes a teacher instead of an obstacle. And that's emotional fluency, the ability to read your internal state without overreacting to it. The goal isn't to be emotionless, it's to be fluent, because when you can translate what you feel, nothing inside you can overpower you. Emotional stability isn't natural, it's trained. It's built through understanding, structure, and rhythm. You can't avoid emotion, you can only learn to interpret it. Fear, stress, doubt, they're not warnings to stop. They're signals that something meaningful is happening. Label them, learn from them, design your environment and your rhythm to support them. Because once you stop fearing your emotions and start working with them, you'll realize stability isn't calmness, it's clarity. And clarity is the most stable state there is. Let's start with something honest. Momentum always fades. Everyone starts strong. The first week of a new habit, a new plan, a new project, you feel unstoppable. Then life gets loud, motivation wavers, and suddenly you're off rhythm. That dip doesn't mean you're broken, it means you're human. Energy, emotion, focus, they all run in cycles. No one stays on forever. The goal isn't to avoid drift, it's to recognize it. It's to recognize it early and reset fast. Because the people who grow long term aren't the ones who never fall off. They're the ones who know how to start again quickly, calmly, and without guilt. Here's the truth most people miss: drift isn't failure, it's feedback. When you fall off rhythm, that's not proof of weakness. It's your system telling you something's out of alignment. Think of it like a dashboard light in your car. When that light turns on, it doesn't mean your car is useless. It means something needs attention. That's what drift is, a signal. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Start asking, what needs redesigning? The faster you can make that shift, the faster you recover. One of the biggest traps people fall into is tying their identity to momentum. When things are flowing, they feel amazing. When the rhythm breaks, they start doubting themselves. They think they failed, when really, it's just their system that slipped. Your identity isn't your momentum. Your worth doesn't rise and fall with your output. Separating those two is what restores power. Because if you believe every slow week means you're broken, you will burn out trying to protect your image of consistency. But when you understand that behavior is situational, not existential, not existential, you stop taking the dip personally. You realize the system failed, not you, and systems can be rebuilt. What actually causes drift? There are three main triggers. Number one, decision fatigue. Too many choices, too many switching. You drain your cognitive battery. You're not unmotivated, you're overloaded. Number two, emotional depletion. You've been running on stress for too long without recovery. Even small tasks start to feel heavy. Number three, loss of purpose. You've forgotten why the work matters. The mission feels distant, so effort starts to lose meaning. Every drift has one of these roots, and each requires a different type of reset. That's why awareness is everything. Because if you can name the cause, you can fix the pattern. Here's a little system. Now, I wouldn't call this a cheat code, but this is a system I use and teach for getting back on track. It's called the reset loop. 4 steps: acknowledge, simplify, sequence, and adjust. Step one, acknowledge. Admit what slipped without judgment. Don't dramatize it, just state it clearly. I've lost my rhythm. Step two, simplify. Remove the noise. If you've got 10 priorities, pick one. Complexity kills recovery. Step three, sequence. Choose one small action that rebuilds momentum. Post something small. Send one message. Complete one task. Proof beats pressure. Step four, adjust. Look at what caused your drift and tweak your system. Maybe you are overloading yourself. Maybe your routine was unrealistic. Refine it before you amp back up. Say you stop create, for example, say you stop creating for, let's say, 2 weeks. You'd acknowledge it. Simplify your workload to just one short post. Sequence your time by scheduling a 30-minute block to do it, and adjust your process. Maybe film in batches next time. That's the reset loop. Simple, repeatable, no guilt, just rhythm restored. When most people drift, they respond with guilt. They beat themselves up, replay the mistake, overanalyze it. But guilt doesn't speed recovery, it drains what's left. Compassion, on the other hand, restores energy. This isn't about being soft on yourself, it's about efficiency. When a professional system malfunctions, they don't yell at the machine, they diagnose, fix, and move. You need to treat yourself the same way. Self compassion keeps the system flexible because if you meet every lapse with self attack, you start fearing mistakes, and that kills experimentation. Guilt burns fuel, compassion refuels it. That's how you stay adaptable. Sometimes drift isn't a setback, it's a signal that you've evolved. The system that once worked might not match who you become. You've grown, but your habits haven't caught up yet. The friction you're feeling, it's growth asking for a new design. Drift reveals what no longer fits. Maybe the schedule that once kept you disciplined now keeps you constrained. Maybe the goal that once motivated you no longer excites you. Growth always creates new tension. That's the cost of evolution. The best systems aren't static, they're living, breathing structures that adjust with you. Don't worship what worked, redesign it for where you are now. Reflection is how you turn drift into data. After every reset, ask these three questions. What slipped? Why did it slip? What will I adjust next time? That's it. Keep it factual, not emotional. This isn't about blaming yourself, it's about collecting information. When you reflect without judgment, you learn faster because you're not wasting time on shame. Reflection is not guilt, it's maintenance. It's how professionals stay consistent. They don't panic when something breaks, they review, repair, repeat. That's how you build long term rhythm. Here's the big takeaway: the difference between amateurs and professionals isn't who drifts, it's who resets faster. Perfection isn't the goal, continuity is. Real consistency doesn't mean you never fall off, it means you've built the systems and the self trust to stand back up quickly and calmly every single time. Mastery isn't about momentum without breaks. It's about the speed and composure of your recovery. Forgiveness followed by structure. Compassion followed by design. That's what mastery looks like. You don't need to never fall off. You just need to know how to stand upright. Resetting is a skill. Every time you rebuild, you prove to yourself that you're someone who can recover. That's what keeps people growing long term. Not perfection, but adaptability. So next time you lose rhythm, don't spiral, reset. Acknowledge it, simplify it, sequence it, adjust it. That's how you turn I fell off into I know exactly how to start again. Because momentum always fades, but systems can always restart. And when you master that reset, you become unstoppable. Let's start with the truth most people avoid. Motivation got you here, but it won't keep you here. Everyone begins with that spark. You see a quote, a clip, a creator who lights something up inside of you. You feel inspired, energized, ready to go all in. And for a few days, it works. But then life starts throwing noise at you. The messages slow down, the energy dips, distractions creep back in. And suddenly you're asking, what happened? Why can't I stay consistent? Nothing happened to you. You just reached a point where emotion ran out and structure didn't exist to take over. Motivation is emotion. Structure is engineering. The people who win long term aren't the ones who stay hyped, they're the ones who stay organized. They build frameworks that don't care how they feel that morning. Because when emotion fades, systems take over. That's what this entire video has been about. Every principle you learn here isn't motivation, it's mechanics. Structure always outlasts inspiration. Always. The 5 pillars of real growth. Let's pull everything we built together, the 5 pillars, 5 foundations that, when combined, create sustained momentum. Number 1, start before you're ready. Stop waiting for the feeling because action creates clarity. The people who win are the ones who move before it feels comfortable. Number 2, build self belief through evidence. Confidence isn't mindset, it's measurement. Every completion is proof, and proof becomes belief. Number 3, think in sequence. Clarity doesn't come from control, it comes from order, one step at a time, executed in a sequence. Number 4, stay emotionally stable. Fear isn't danger, it's data. You don't remove emotion, you learn to translate it. Number five, reset quickly. Because drift is normal, perfection is fake. The real skill is how fast you can rebuild your rhythm after you fall off. Those are the five. Everything else, the tactics, the algorithms, the tools, they sit on top of these. Without these foundations, everything collapses the moment motivation. Everything collapses the second motivation disappears. But with them, you can rebuild momentum anytime, anywhere. Here's what all five pillars have in common. They build self-trust. When you design structure, you remove guesswork. You don't wake up asking, what should I do today? And when your structure carries you through the days you don't feel inspired, your belief compounds naturally. Structure is like scaffolding for confidence. It holds you steady while you grow into the next version of yourself. Every checklist ticked, every promise kept, every reset completed. That's another data point that says, I can trust me. And that's what real confidence is. Not type, not affirmations, just evidence repeated enough times that belief becomes automatic. Self-trust isn't something you feel, it's something you earn. And you earn it through repetition, through rhythm, through structure. Let's address the elephant in the room. We live in the age of information. Everyone's scrolling through advice, frameworks, strategies. You can find 1,000 how-to videos in 5 minutes, but that's the trap. People keep collecting information instead of installing it. You already know enough to change your life. You don't need another PDF. You need a process. Implementation is what separates consumers from professionals. Knowing what to do isn't the challenge. Designing how you do it consistently is. That's why I built the full course. Not to flood you with more ideas, but to guide you step by step into a structured implementation system. Because knowledge without structure creates guilt. Structure turns that knowledge into action. You've learned the frameworks here. The full course is where we build them into your daily rhythm. Inside the program, now inside the now inside the now inside the academy now inside the academy, we take everything we covered and translate it into practical systems. You will learn how to build personal rhythms that sustain focus without burnout, create proof systems, trackers that measure consistency and confidence, implement focus structures that eliminate mental clutter, use reset loops to recover from setbacks in hours, not weeks, and rewire how you interpret fear, turning stress into usable data. It's not inspiration, it's installation. We go beyond what to think and straight into how to design. Because when you have a functioning structure behind your momentum, progress stops depending on your mood. You start to feel grounded, consistent, and calm, even while you're scaling fast. That's the power of structure. It gives you stability and speed at the same time. Here's the reality most people never face. Chaos looks like progress, but it's actually decay. When you're always busy, always reacting, you confuse exhaustion with achievement. You're burning energy, but not building momentum. Chaos feels exciting. It's loud, dramatic, full of motion, but it's expensive. Consistency, on the other hand, looks boring from the outside. Same desk, same schedule, same routine. But that's what builds mastery. The creators, founders, and entrepreneurs who scale quietly aren't doing 1,000 things. They're doing a few things extremely well, over and over again. Because repetition creates reliability, and reliability compounds faster than speed. The goal isn't to look busy, it's to feel in control. Structure gives you that. It's not glamorous, but it's golden. Chaos burns, structure builds. This is the Modern Founders Academy philosophy in one line. Clarity compounds. Every time you add a bit of clarity to your process, everything else gets easier. When you clarify priorities, focus improves. When you clarify your goals, distraction fades. When you clarify your systems, execution speeds up. Clarity isn't just helpful, it's multiplicative. It builds trust. Trust builds speed. Speed builds results. And those results creates more clarity. That's a compounding loop. And the best part, you don't need a perfect plan to start. You just need enough clarity to take one structured action. And once motion begins, clarity grows with it. That's how you build unstoppable momentum. Progress isn't random, it's engineered. And in every modern founder system, every playbook, every framework you've seen was designed with that same principle in mind. Clarity creates calm. Calm creates confidence. Confidence creates consistency. Consistency compounds everything. Now we reach the turning point. You've got the understanding, but the frameworks alone don't change your reality. Design does. Most people stop right here. They take notes, they gain XP, which I hope you've been doing, and they feel inspired. But they never build a structure that makes change stick. That's why growth for them comes in waves, short bursts of intensity followed by long stretches of drift. Professionals operate differently. They design systems that hold them through both. So here's your choice. Do you stop at motivation or do you move with design? Take 1 week and apply the 5 pillars. Set up a small rhythm. Track one proof metric. Build a simple reset loop. Notice how much calmer your progress feels. And if you want the exact blueprints, the templates, dashboards, trackers, frameworks, they're all inside the full course. That's where we turn these lessons into living systems you can run daily. Because growth isn't about hype, it's about infrastructure. Let's close with the sentence that defines all of this. Growth isn't emotional, it's architectural. You don't need hype, you need habit. Motivation disappears, structure stays. When you build a system that removes hesitation, you don't chase momentum, you manufacture it. Start, believe, focus, stabilize, reset. Those 5 words are your blueprint for progress. If you design them into your structure, you'll never need another motivational video again because you won't be chasing energy anymore. You'll be running a process that creates its own. Structure is the great equalizer. It makes ordinary people consistent and consistent people unstoppable. So build your structure, run your system, and watch motivation become irrelevant. I'll see you guys inside the program where we take every one of these ideas and turn them into systems that scale your growth for real. Motivation sparks movement. Structure sustains it. One is emotional, the other is engineered. If you build for emotion, you'll rise fast and fall. You'll rise fast and fall faster. If you build for structure, you'll rise slow and never fall again. Every reset, every rhythm, every repetition adds proof. Proof builds trust. Trust builds power. That's the path of real mastery. Calm, measurable, and repeatable. Remember this, structure beats motivation every single time. Let's slow down for a second and zoom out. Everything you've built so far, your routines, your habits, your workflow, even the way you react to setbacks, it's all shaping you into someone, whether you realize it or not. Every system, every system you follow is training your identity. When you wake up and reach for your phone before you breathe, that's a system. When you start your day with clarity or chaos, that's a system. When you break promises to yourself or keep them, that's a system too. The question isn't whether you're building an identity, the question is which one are you building? Because chaos builds doubt, structure builds belief. Every day your systems are teaching your brain what kind of person you are. When you design systems that work, you start to see yourself as capable. When you run systems that drain you, you start to believe you're inconsistent. Who you become isn't random. It's engineered line by line, choice by choice, habit by habit. Here's the truth that most people miss. Self-belief doesn't live in your head. It lives in your calendar. It's not what you say you believe in yourself, it's what you schedule. Every block of time designed with intention is a small vote of confidence. Every consistent routine says, I can trust myself. Because belief isn't emotional, it's operational. When your structure holds you, you don't wake up wondering if you're motivated. You wake up knowing what happens next. That's the difference between guessing and growing. Discipline isn't about control, it's about clarity. It's the act of saying, I know who I am because I've designed who I am. When your systems run, your identity stabilizes. You stop chasing confidence because structure already gives it to you. That's how belief compounds, through design, not through hype. Let's talk about the trap most creators and founders fall into, the external game. Everyone's chasing metrics, followers, revenue, validation, recognition, and there's nothing wrong with that. External wins are important. They're the signals that your work is resonating, but they're not the foundation. Because you can't lead publicly if you're lost privately. You can have momentum on the outside and collapse on the inside if your structure isn't strong. External success is built on internal systems, And the truth is, stability isn't built in public, it's built in process. It's the things people don't see: your morning rhythm, your focus structure, your reflection habits, your reset routine. That makes you stable when things get loud. When the outside world moves fast, your system becomes your anchor. That's how you stay grounded while growing. You can't scale chaos, you can only scale clarity. Most people think calm is a feeling. It's not, it's a function. Anxiety is just uncertainty trying to find order. The noise fades. The moment you know what matters, most stress doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from not knowing what to do next. That's why structure is a cure for anxiety. It gives your mind direction when your emotions are scattered. When you know your priorities, you stop chasing urgency. When you know your rhythm, you stop mistaking restlessness for failure. Calm isn't luck, it's the side effect of clarity. Every system you design, every process that tells you this is what happens next, frees your mind from the chaos of indecision. And that's what emotional stability really is. It's clarity made visible. Let's be honest, you're going to fall off again. You're going to miss days, lose momentum, forget the plan. That's not failure, that's being human. But here's the shift: every time you reset, you rebuild your identity. You're proving to yourself that you can recover, that you can adapt, that you can rebuild rhythm from nothing. Resetting doesn't erase your progress, it refines it. Every comeback is a calibration. It's your system learning how to handle new pressure. The person you become isn't shaped by how you avoid falling, it's shaped by how you rise after what you do. That's what maturity looks like. Not perfection, but the ability to return with composure. So stop fearing the fall, start mastering the reset, because every reset is a quiet rebuild of who you are becoming. Let's call this out directly. Belief without structure is fiction. You can believe in your vision all you want, but without systems, it's just imagination. And on the flip side, structure without belief is lifeless. It's mechanical. You go through the motions, but you won't feel aligned. You need both. Belief gives energy, structure gives direction. When you connect them, you get sustainable momentum. That's the formula behind every great brand, business, or creator. They don't rely on hype, they rely on design. They take belief, that emotional spark, and feed it into systems that make the spark automatic. That's how purpose turns into process, and how confidence turns into identity. Now, progress doesn't happen by chance, it happens by construction. You don't stumble into growth, you build conditions that make it repeatable. Every system, every reflection, every rhythm, they're all gears inside your growth engine. And the reason people burn out isn't because they're not capable, it's because they're trying to grow emotionally instead of structurally. Emotion will get you started, structure will keep you going. Progress is engineered. It's what happens when your systems catch up to your potential. That's why everything you've learned, from readiness to belief to focus to stability to resets, is designed to make growth predictable. Because the truth is, consistency isn't personality, it's architecture. The version of you people will respect the most is the one they'll never see being built. It's the one who shows up in silence. No audience, no praise, no dopamine rush. It's the one who does the boring reps, the one who studies instead of scrolling, the one who keeps the rhythm when the camera's off. Public results come from private structure. You don't build identity through attention, you build it through alignment. That's what structure gives you: alignment without performance. Because when your systems are clear, you don't need to perform consistency, you become it. Every quiet morning, you follow your plan. Every small action, you repeat. Every time you reset instead of quit, you're rewriting your identity. And that's the version of you people will eventually see. Not because you said it, but because you became it. Now, let's bring it home. But before that, so far, I want to make sure you guys have been collecting a lot of information, a lot of XP, and making sure you apply it after this video. Throughout this video, there are so many upgrades to apply. So make sure you guys level up after you finish this video. So good content gets attention. Good systems build people. The creators and founders who last, they don't just make things that go viral, they build foundations that don't crack. They know how to structure their time, their energy, and their momentum. That's what separates noise from legacy. You now have the frameworks. You know what structure does. You've seen how clarity compounds, how rhythms build belief, and how every reset strengthens your foundation. Now it's your turn to live it. You don't need to become someone new. You just need to build that environment that makes that version of you inevitable. The systems you design today will become the person you are 6 months from now. So build with intention, operate with rhythm, and remember, good content gets views, but good systems build lives. I'll see you inside where structure becomes identity and identity becomes growth.